somewhere you feel free.
Well, as you can see, this is my van that I've been living out of for the last 4 months. I'm a full-time nomad, but I have a little issue with things that still tether me to this town of Las Vegas. And this has been a process that's been going on for about 5 years. And aside from the garbage cans, which you can see in the forefront, and a few boxes in the back, this is what I have left after about 5 years of minimizing and prioritizing and deciding what to get rid of. It's unrealistic to think that I would ultimately get rid of everything in order to have everything that I own and that I need in my van. There are going to be some personal items that I'm going to want to store, some things that I would never use on the road but that are memory things, stuff that I want to maybe pass on to someone else, or stuff I just plain don't want to get rid of. And my goal, if you can see the two metal cabinets here, I don't trip over this other stuff. My goal is to ultimately take, and I'm going to do a sweep, all of this stuff, except for these boxes on the back, those belong to someone else. But all this other stuff and this trailer, and consolidate my stuff so that the things of importance fit in one of these cabinets, and a few things in this trailer. Not filled up like it is now, but just a few things. I'm not yet ready yet to get rid of the trailer, but you know, if I get rid of this stuff, I'm not going to need it much. But I have books. I have a toolbox full of tools that I've collected over 45 years. I have other things that I just have a hard time getting rid of. I store different things. I got hot sauce sitting up here that I got at the dollar store. See, and I don't want to get rid of that. But this is part of the process that you go through. And as I say, it's not the last stage. I'm going to share some things, some principles that I use, and some principles that I think will help. And understand too that I haven't completed this task. I'm talking to you in the middle of it. And I know you can imagine or not imagine what I've gone through. But if you can see my wardrobe, if you've seen my previous video of my van tour, that was just hanging on the hanging rack in my van, and this sparse number of clothes is all that I have left of my clothes, of the things that are essential to me. These things up here are also going to end up going eventually. And I have boots up here. I don't want to get rid of those, because when you want boots, those are the boots to have. And these are dance boots. And I don't think I'm going to need those much longer. Here I have books that I've collected over the years. I have 1, 2, I have 3, and then I have down over here, if you can see them, if I can point to them, 4, and down below that 5 of these big things with all kinds of important, studious books. We've gotten rid of most of the fluff books. And in this case right here, this stand-up case right here, are my golf clubs. I grew up as a golfer, and I don't golf anymore, or I haven't for a long time, but I can't quite bring myself to get rid of those clubs yet. But that's something that's going to have to go and be consolidated. If I set that goal of everything fitting in one of these cabinets, only one, and I don't mean for it to be stuffed, I mean just for it to be clear that those are things that are important to me. Maybe the golf clubs will fit, maybe they won't. Ultimately, the trailer is going to go because I'm not going to need it anymore. There are lots of things that I've gotten rid of that there have been times when I wish I had them still. But the nice thing about this life and not having them is that you learn to do with what you got. And if you don't, you go out and buy it again. And when you buy it again, you decide, now, is this something I will need to use once and I'm going to get rid of again? Or is it something that I want to be part of my life from now on? And that's the real decision that has to be made about this stuff. Minimizing the amount of stuff that I have has gone through quite an evolution. As I say, it started 5 years ago, before I ever even knew that I was going to try and live on the road. And it started with a house where, at the height of the time that my family was living there were 7 of us. So there was a lot of stuff. And everybody had moved out about 3 years ago, except for my youngest son and my soon-to-be ex-wife. At which time I ended up with the responsibility of getting rid of the stuff that they left behind. What I realized during this time was that I was the one that was really being burdened. That those who left home and those who moved away from me, moved away from the house, were able to just take the things that they felt that they needed and to begin to build from there. But I had to start building by going through a pile of stuff. And I didn't really know how to do it. Again, I didn't think that I would be living in a van by my choice. But I do now. And I want to talk just a little bit more about the process that I went through and the stages so that it might help you. And so you can understand that this is not the final stage, but it's very close to the final stage of getting rid of stuff, because I want to live a certain way and I'd like to live free. And the best way to do that is to be untethered from the tether of things. Isn't that a cool shot? Got a little halo on me. I'm in Las Vegas now at my cousin's home, and this is where I have my stuff stored. And as a part of the phase that I'm in consolidating and getting rid of stuff, I filled up the trailer with items that I could have taken to just any thrift store. I'd come from the Quartzsite area, and there are people down there that I care about, and people living the lifestyle I want to live, and there are people that are just starting out. And I wanted to take my stuff down there and make it available for people to go through and take what they'd like. I originally thought I'd like to sell some of the stuff, but it became much more liberating once I got down there to realize that you can't sell stuff on BLM land. So I realized that what I really wanted, and maybe you'll realize this too, is I want the things that are important to me to go to a good home. You can't always tell what's a good home, but you can usually tell if somebody is looking at something like they're going to resell it, or if they're actually going to use it or can do some good with it. And I found that down there. It took a full day of going to 2 different locations and setting up tables and having my stuff there and looking like a yard sale. In fact, this title page and presentation by Alicia Gordon of the Homes on Wheels Alliance actually includes tables with my stuff on it in the background. But people coming over and asking how much is everything, and I said, well, it's free. Of course, the things that I listed on Facebook Marketplace I set aside, but everything that was on these tables was free for the asking. One location, a lot of stuff went, and that was great. And I went to another location, and a lot of stuff went. And I didn't put back those things that I had set on the marketplace to sell. I brought them out. People looked at them, and I ended up giving some things to places, to people who not only I knew it was going to help, but that they were going to help other people. Different tools that I had and stuff like that that I wanted to sell. And So ultimately, I didn't sell anything, but I had the joy of giving everything away. I mean, it was a real joy. When I hooked that trailer up to my van, I've been traveling for 4 months, not even thinking about a trailer, not having anything tethered to me, but knowing that about every 3 weeks I have to come back to Las Vegas because I check stuff out from the library and a hotspot and different things like that. So I have to either renew it or bring it back. So it just seems like about every 3 weeks I have to be back here in Vegas. And one of the things I noticed as soon as I gotta change hands here. As soon as I hooked up the trailer and had that stuff, I felt tethered. I mean, the trailer was stuck on the back of the vehicle, and I didn't like it. I was dragging it around, and all of a sudden, the life that I'd been comfortable with, being relatively stealthy and relatively not concerned about stuff outside of the van, I became concerned of. This stuff that I was going to give away, I was concerned that someone was going to, break in and steal it, which is silly. I'm going to give it away. But that's what I felt. I felt tethered. I hated it. I hated going back to the place that I found such freedom in life, down in the courtside area. But it's not courtside. It's the people that I met. It's the freedom to be able to live and just be yourself. And anyway, but I felt tethered. And it was good that I felt that way. It was tethered. I didn't like the way the van drove because I knew the trailer was back there. I mean, it's very light. It's like you can't hardly even feel it. But it was something that was hooked onto me, and I didn't like it. And it was a good reminder and for me, a real visual representation of what all this stuff that I showed you in the garage has been to me. It's been a tether. I can ignore it. I couldn't ignore that trailer being pulled behind me, but I can ignore this stuff. But the fact is, it still tethers me here. So I talk about trying to get free of the tether of things. And I'm not a minimalist. I call myself an essentialist, but I'm not even really that. I look for the essential, and if I have a bunch more stuff that is kind of irrelevant, I don't mind having it around right now. I'll probably change as I whittle down and get more and more stuff, even out of my van. Those of you that have seen the tour of the van, my van build, will see that there's not a lot of room in there, and it isn't that I'm looking for a lot of room. It's just that I carry around a lot of stuff that it seems essential to me, that as I move along, I'll find out more and more things aren't essential. So anyway, I still was tethered with the trailer, but because I recognize that it represents my tethering up here, it also represents the way that I can gain a sense of freedom, and that is to load up stuff, and if it's important to me, I'd like it to be important or at least valuable to someone else. That's something I have time to be able to do, and so I'm going to load up the trailer again. I did take a few things over to Slab City and talk to people about some stuff they might need, and they don't need all the junk I have, but some of the things I hold on to, like scraps of wood that I've had, they can be beneficial for people to build stuff at Slab City, and paper plates and different things that I have, that I can take to friends that use those things. So I'll be going by Slab again, and I might find some other stuff that goes there. There's a guy who works on bicycles, and I've got some bicycle working tools, and he doesn't know me, and he probably has exactly what I plan to go give him. It's just a little something, but it gives me a reason to go down again and be tethered with this trailer, and come back with the trailer basically empty, or at least empty of the things I'm trying to get rid of. One thing I haven't gotten rid of yet are containers that I keep putting the stuff in. So the trailer, as you saw, even though it was covered, is pretty well full. It's got my 2 tables in there, and it's got a lot of the containers, the big open crates and stuff like that in it. So eventually I want to say those will be the last to go. But I'll tell you, if I find somebody who has a great need, a need for it, they can go way before I'm done using them, because I don't need to store them anymore. I just want to protect the stuff that I'm taking and getting rid of. So anyway, that's kind of a long variation of basically saying the tethering of things is what holds you down from the life that you want to live. If you want to be a nomad, that's fine. Let that be your goal. Actually, I don't think it should be a goal to be a nomad. I think the goal should just be to live your best life, live the best life that you can think of. And for me, being able to live out of my van and not live encumbered by so many things is a truly freeing thing, so that people become more important to me than things. There's the old saying that you should love people and use things, and I think I've loved people all along, but really the reality of how I've lived is that I've loved things and used people. Don't carry that too far. I'm not that bad a guy. But anyway, so on with more of the reasoning and how to go about cutting stuff down. Not trees, but cutting down the amount of stuff that you have and letting yourself be free. If you know something's going to go to a good home, that can be very important to you. Some of you just need to stack it all out in front of the house and call the Salvation Army or someone to come and pick it up. I'm not advocating everybody get away from their houses, but I'll tell you, if you even have an inkling of getting on the road, you need to. And one of the tethers that we use, sometimes we want to hold on, or it's like getting in the boat, getting in a boat. A boat that's in harbor is always safe, but that's not what a boat is made for. A ship is made for. So we want to stay tethered, like tied to the pier. Well, if we stay tied to the pier, we're never going to go anyplace but from the pier. And I've been to many wonderful places this year in Arizona to come to know a lot more about Arizona and stuff I never believed in that state. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to be, summer or winter. And but I'm not physically tethered. And anyway, becoming emotionally untethered has to do a lot with things. Emotionally untethered to those things, because if you're going to live the life that's best for you, you should only have the things, the essential things that you need in order to fulfill that life and be happy and hopefully help make other people happy or help them as they're trying to make themselves happy. So
Far away from your troubles and worries.